In the remote hills of St Anns Jamaica, where the road from St Anns Bay twisted south through Pedro District, people began to vanish. It started quietly in the 1760s. A traveler would set out with his horse, a watch, a few coins, and the clothes on his back. Days later, the horse might turn up grazing alone. The man never did. Neighbors muttered. Merchants grew careful. Yet the disappearances continued, one by one, until the narrow valley felt like a throat waiting to close. At the narrowest point of that road stood a two-story stone house with circular towers pierced by loopholes. Locals called it Edinburgh Castle. The man who lived there was a Scotsman named Hutchinson, tall, red-haired, educated, and said to have studied medicine before he crossed the ocean. He kept cattle. He entertained the occasional visitor with food and drink. He smiled when he spoke, and every soul who passed his gate felt the weight of his eyes. At first, the stories were only whispers. Hutchinson shot stray cattle that wandered onto his land and claimed them as his own. Then the whispers darkened. Lone riders who passed beneath the towers sometimes crumpled in the saddle, a single ball through the chest. Others accepted an invitation to rest inside the cool stone rooms. They never left. Enslaved people on the estate spoke when they dared, of bodies dragged at night to a deep black sinkhole on the property. Hutchinson's hole, 322 feet straight down into the earth. Some said the master cut the heads from the corpses first. Some said he drank the blood while it was still warm. The more the stories spread, the more people avoided the road. Yet still, the watches and the clothing kept vanishing into the castle. For years, the island's authorities did almost nothing. Slave testimony carried little weight in colonial courts. White planters disappeared, but proof was hard to gather in those isolated hills. Hutchinson walked free, growing bolder. He began inviting guests openly, seating them at his table, pouring wine, listening to their stories, then ending them. The end came not from careful investigation, but from open arrogance. One day, a soldier named John Callender rode to Edinburgh Castle with orders to confront the man. Witnesses watched as Hutchinson raised his gun in plain sight and shot the soldier dead. The body was hauled away like the others. A sick man lying inside the house heard the shot, slipped out after dark, and raised the alarm. Searchers, guided by a slave who had seen too much, found Callender's head and, nearby, a collection of nearly 20 human skulls. Bones littered the inaccessible depths of the hole. Hutchinson fled south toward Old Harbor and boarded a ship. The Royal Navy intercepted him before the vessel could clear the coast. They dragged the red-haired doctor back to Spanish Town in chains. At the trial, he showed no fear. He pleaded not guilty. He hired the best lawyers on the island. He sat through the proceedings with open contempt. When the court sentenced him to hang, he spent his final night writing his own epitaph and left £100 for a marble monument that would declare he defied their power and would die like a Roman. The authorities refused both the money and the stone. On the morning of the 16th of March, 1773, they hanged Louis Hutchinson in Spanish Town Square. He was 40 years old. Only after the rope went taut did searchers finish emptying Edinburgh Castle. Inside, they found 43 watches, none of them bearing his initials, and piles of clothing of every size. The exact number of the dead will never be known. The hole still gapes in the hills of St Ann. The ruins of the castle still stand, and the road through Pedro district still carries the memory of the mad doctor who turned hospitality into a trap and murder into sport.